India and Pakistan, and there was a woman in the middle of nowhere with a rickety stall selling something. My wife Christine went and found out what it was, and of course she's a woman, so she bought something. Turned out it was salt. And when she paid the woman, she looked up from behind her hijab with these fantastic eyes, and that was the first time I saw Afra. So when the story came to me, she was obviously who I had in mind as the main character.
The story starts in rural Pakistan, and we have Afra and Jamil. Tell us a wee bit about their relationship.
Afra and Jamil, the story, I thought the story started sweetly, but someone pointed out to me that it's not sweet at all, that there's lots of gory stuff and bad stuff going on. Jamil and Afra live in Mundi village, and they're kind of childhood sweethearts. She isn't so sure about him. Of course, it's not an unusual thing. He's mad about her. She isn't so sure about him because, after all, he's just a village boy. But after he saves her in a particular instant early on, she kind of sees him in a different light, and from then on, they're in love. And in many ways, they are the central characters of the whole story, although Afra rarely appears. His love for her and his need to find her is what drives him on all the way to the end of the book. It's not a story of unrequited love, but it's a story of star-crossed love, I guess. That's what it doesn't quite work out for them, but that's what the nub of the story's about.
Yes, because they're separated, but they don't lose that love they have for each other.
It's always burning. It's always burning in both of them. They're actually in the same city of Lahore, without either of them knowing that. And of course, the story in the early parts of the tale explores their very different experiences in that city. Jamil can't tell you he does all right, and Afra doesn't do so all right. And that takes us up to about halfway through the book. And then it's Ralph Buchanan who begins the book as a narrator. Ralph's an interesting guy. And when I wrote the book, at first I had written about half of it, and Christine read it, and she said, "Oh, this is great. But which part is Leonardo going to play?" I said, "Well, Leonardo who?" She said, "Well, Leonardo DiCaprio, of course." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, when they make the movie, you're going to have a major star here." So I wrote the part of Ralph Buchanan, and Ralph grew and grew and grew to eventually become not only the narrator, but a central character in the second half, where he becomes a character. Ralph opens the book and closes the book as the narrator from where he is now in London, telling us about what's happened. And this is a story that he didn't write, which is very important.
How does Ralph end up in Lahore?
How
does Ralph end up in Lahore?
How did Ralph end? Well, in the original draft of the book, there was a long story about Ralph Buchanan and how he ended up in Lahore. We cut that out when we realised a very obvious thing about writing, and you're a book reviewer, you'll know this right away instinctively. You've got to establish right from the beginning, what story are you telling? And in our case, in my case, the story is a story of Afra and Jamil. Now, Ralph's tale is very interesting, how this former star reporter, his activities, his behaviour took him off the rails, his alcoholism gets out of control. But because he's been a star performer for his newspaper, they don't sack him. They do something else. They send him to Purdah. They kind of exile him to drink himself to death in Pakistan. And it's while it's in Pakistan that he comes across the beautiful. One of the things of the books, all the women are beautiful. Well, there are two women in this book. That's just what happens. They're both beautiful. He meets Simone Jasnin, a doctor who's very inspired to rail against what's going on in her country. She tries to elicit his support because he to put it bluntly, because he fancies her, he gets involved, and she is actually the road to his salvation, although he can't tell that at the time. And he becomes one of the principal characters in the book, which is a long travel from not even being a guy in the book at the beginning.